What's good, family? Smash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. It's all kicking off right now. So, for you man who don't know, I just did a video on Devin No Power Haney airing out George Kambosos about being a ducker. Now, in that time, George Kambosos has clapped back, exposing with receipts that Devin Haney is in fact the one who be woofing. Yeah, he be doing the most woofing, but no action. Check this out. So just in case you didn't see what Haney said initially, let's take it from a jump. Yeah, from the jump, Devin, no power having Haney, said the following. Yo, George Kambosos, are we making this fight happen or what? I'm agreeing to all your zesty funny style terms. Whether it's the shot or the travel, it's starting to look like some ducking is going on at Eddie Hearn. George Kambosos clapped back and said the following. I love how you, Mr. No Power having Haney, manipulate and lie to your fans. You talk a big game but show no action, a bit like your fights. Wow, boring face. I'm patiently waiting with all my belts for the offer from your boss, Mr. Hearn, because I got a stadium ready in Australia, but I can see the excuses already. Wow! Oh man, it's bad for Haney. Hey, listen, I've spoke to Team Haney and they're telling me that they wish I never... Listen, I'm spoke to Team Haney and they're telling me they're wishing they never stuck their beak out now. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, and I'm hearing Haney is right about now winding his neck right in for him. Yeah, he's winding it all the way back in. Because your man's Kambosos just knocked his beak off for him. That's what happens, you see. When you stick your beak out, it's exposed. Your beak got stuck out and Kambosos slapped it off for you. Now, Haney didn't leave it there. He fired back himself and said the following. So you want our side to put the money up in your backyard? Question mark. Okay, no problem. See you soon and keep those belts safe because they'll be leaving Australia soon. Damn. And then finally, George Kambosos came back again and said the following. I'm not here for Twitter fights like most of these zesty cats like Devin No Power having Haney. I'm here for real fights. To be honest, you gotta give respect to myself, Tio, and Loma. Out of the one Emperor, 4 Kings, and Matrix, we three stepped up and fought, while others, like Mr. No Power having Haney, only fought on Twitter. Just stating facts. Now you tell me who ducks. Wow. This beef kicking off now. Listen, the beef kicking off now. Like I said, I did a video earlier addressing Haney's original comment, which at the time we didn't know what Kambosos was going to say. So at the time, I kind of sat on the fence and said, listen, I respect Haney for airing his concerns out publicly because I think all fighters should tell their business publicly. That way, everyone's clear about the situation. I think fighters should expose duckery if they believe it's going on. So when Haney came out and said, listen, Kambosos is ducking, I respect that. That's what he should be doing if he really wants to make this fight. Too many fighters sit there like Terence Crawford and don't say anything. And that means it allows people to mix and confuse the narrative. If you come out exposing receipts, listen, we sent this email, we sent this offer, and we didn't get a response. That way it's clear. But too many of these guys conveniently sit back in the cut and don't do anything. And just leave it to the public's imagination. So I respect Haney for airing his concerns publicly. However, now that Kambosos has replied, he put, listen, your man, Devin Haney on the back foot right now. There's no doubt about that. Haney on the back foot right now. Yeah, Kambosos said, listen, you're a liar and you're a manipulator. You talk a big game, but you ain't got no action. Like your fights, they're boring. Oh, it's peak, man. Why? I don't get why. Why Kambosos got to do no power having Haney like this, man? We already know no power having is already vulnerable. We already know that Devin has to talk to his former opponents and beg them for some validation. Oh, Linares, can you tell me if I've got power, please? Oh, it's bad. It's bad, man. So, come on, George. Don't punk Devin. Please don't do Devin like that. Please don't do down bad Devin like that. Yeah, we all know his fight's boring and we know he's got no power. But come on, man. Let's have some. let's have some fairness here. But listen, Kambosos also says, apart from punking Devin about his boring fights, he also says he's waiting with his belt for an offer from your boss, Eddie Hearn, because he's got the stadium ready in Australia. But he can see the excuses already. Now, it's interesting because Haney started this whole stream off by saying, are we making this fight happen or what? I'm agreeing to all your terms. Blah, 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 blah. It's starting to look like a duck. So, it's a contradiction, because how can Haney agree all to the terms if there hasn't been a contract been sent? Yeah? That's confusing. Haney in one breath is saying, oh, we've accepted all of your terms and this, that, the other, you're ducking us. But then Kambosos is saying we're waiting for an offer. So it's wild at the moment. But then Haney comes back and says, well, now you want us to send you an offer in Australia, even though it's your hometown. So I'm confused. It's all a bit messy now. And that's the great thing about public discourse, you see. Because at least now there's no confusion, is there? Just think, if both of these two, hadn't said anything, no doubt, what would happen is some random mandatory would be called. Think about it, innit? Seriously though. Imagine if both of these two fighters, had just sat there and fought and just kept their concerns to themselves. In the next month would have gone on, and then there would have been a mandatory called for Haney and a mandatory called for Kambosos, and that'd be that. They'd both be locked into random ass fights. So I'm glad. I'm not sure who's in the right, who's in the wrong, but like I said, that's the great thing about this discourse. There doesn't have to be a right and a wrong. Both of these two men, one way or another, can get a contract sent now. Whether it's George Kambosos, well, it seems to be that George Kambosos wants an offer from Eddie Hearn. And I can't blame him. Why? Because even if it is his hometown, the reason I can't blame Kambosos is because Eddie Hearn, he has the power here. He has the network. Kambosos doesn't have a network deal. So it's not, whilst I appreciate that Haney's always going to throw that stone, oh, what, you want to ask us for an offer in your hometown? Yeah, Devin's going to say that, but realistically, Kambosos isn't signed with Showtime or whoever else. So the offer's really, who's the offer going to come from? He needs a network. So for Kambosos to go out and try and find a network and whatnot, that's long. The offer's always going to really have to come from Haney and Eddie Hearn, because we also know not only does Eddie Hearn have the network, Eddie Hearn himself has been running his mouth for a long time saying, if I can get the Haney versus Kambosos fight on, I'll pay for that myself. That's what Eddie Hearn was saying. So, in a way, it gets me thinking, is this more of Eddie Hearn just woofing again? Has Eddie Hearn been woofing? Because for a long time, like I said, Eddie Hearn been gassing the place up. Oh, I'll pay for that fight. Even if I have to pay out of my own pocket, I'll pay for that. Just to get it done. That's what Eddie Hearn was saying. Now all of a sudden, Team Haney is waiting for Kambosos to send an offer. Which sounds about right, because we know Eddie Hearn ain't fixing to pay for nothing out of his own pocket. So he's been woofing. I don't rate that. Don't woof, Eddie. Yeah? Don't woof about things for years. Oh, I'll pay for it. Swear down. Eddie Hearn's been saying for months, because initially it was T.O. Eddie Hearn's been saying, if there's no money in the T.O. and Haney fight, I'll pay for it. Now, he missing. Now he sitting there acting dumb, waiting for Kambosos to send an offer. Waiting for Mr. No Network to make an offer. But again, I appreciate that to be fair to Team Haney, they're probably thinking, well, if we're sending the offer, we're DAZN, we're a USA-based company. If we're sending the offer, why would we come to Australia for? So to be fair, that doesn't make sense. To be fair, yeah. If big USA company going to make the offer, if Kambosos wants to wait for the offer to be sent, you can't really call the shots. It doesn't really work like that. You can't say, well, I want my next fight in Australia, and you got to come to Australia, but at the same time, you need to make us an offer. Then again, maybe he can. And to be fair to Haney, Haney didn't say no. He said, fine, you'll get the offer. Just make sure you keep my belts warm. So, again, really, in conclusion, I'm just glad we got this public discourse now, and not 3 months later when they've all got other fights booked. How many times have we had these situations, where a fight gets talked about, it goes quiet for 3 months, and then all of a sudden you hear about both fighters having some random bum-ass fight. I mean, Crawford and Spence was textbook, wasn't it? Yeah? Crawford beat Porter. The fight was talked about in the next 24 to 48 hours after the fight happened against Crawford and Porter. And then it went quiet for a month. Next thing you know, Spence versus Ugas out of nowhere. That's how these things usually go when two men don't say nothing, because they both don't want to fight. That's what I believe. I believe Spence and Crawford both don't want to fight. I think they both find it convenient for them to fight everyone else but each other. That's what I believe. Crawford loves to fight leftovers, and Spence loves to fight randoms no one don't care about. So I salute both men, Kambosos and Haney, for being true to the fans. Because really, that's all we can ask for. We can't ask for miracles. What we can ask for is for honesty and truth. And that's what we've got here. And they'll put on a great fight. And in terms of the smaller divisions, this will be the greatest thing going on there. Because to be fair to Kambosos told Haney, look, I get in there and I give people the work, which is true. We don't know if Haney is battle tested, do we? You're lying if you can tell me Haney's battle tested. Who's he been in there with? Oops, no one. Whereas Kambosos has been in there with an A-level fighter. He's been in there with T.O. He's been in there with a man who beat the man. And not only has he been in there, Kambosos has proven he can go into a fight 20-1 underdog and pull it off and put the man down in the first round. That is a different type of certifiedness. You've got to be certy to do them kind of things. Has Devin Haney showed that certifiedness? No, he hasn't. For all we know, Kambosos go in there and touch him, and no power having may end up being no chin having. That's for all we know, yeah. Devin, no chin having Haney. That might be the next one. Seriously. I mean, I'm being funny, but wasn't it Linares? Or sorry, wasn't it Old Ares? Yeah? Wasn't it Jorge Old Ares? The one who touched his whiskers and he ended up doing a bit of a chicken dance. Yeah? So I'm warning you, man, now. I'm warning all Devin Haney fans. I've got a feeling we may end up 6 months from now, we may be saying, Devin, no chin having Haney. No doubt.